Hello, viewers. Good afternoon. This is Deutsch Raphael. Season's greetings to you. We have just entered the Christmas week, and in no distant time, we are going to be joining over 2 billion Christians globally to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. However, a Yuletide meant to be one of concerts, parties, homecomings, and family reunions have been dashed upon the partial United States visa restrictions on Nigeria. Last Tuesday, President Donald Trump announced a new partial visa restriction affecting Nigeria and 16 other African countries. The restrictions primarily focus on certain visa categories, including student visas and work visas. The US government cited national security concerns, indicating that the measures are intended to prevent potential threats and improve the vetting process for visa applicants. Now, to help us make a sense of this story, we have Mr. Emeka Ugwuonye, Esquire, renowned legal consultant and CEO Due Process Advocates International. Glad to have you, Mr. Ugwuonye.
Thank you.
All right, compliments of the season, Mr. Ugwuonye, before we start.
Same to you. Thank you.
All right, as a lawyer and one who has been residing in the United States, I would like you to put things into proper perspectives. What exactly is the motivation behind the visa restrictions on Nigeria and other countries, and how justified is it?
Well, it's now a common knowledge that President Trump has a different approach to immigration issue. This is not a sudden development. Even in his campaign, he had indicated he was going to take a different route to this issue of immigration. And there are all kind of arguments that have been advanced by people who commented on this, who we saw this as an orientation of the Republican Party to restrict access to the United States. People have even gone as far as speaking to a more deeper entrenched views within the Republican Party championed by Donald Trump, that America is becoming less and less a white society, that is becoming diversified. And there has been an effort by his party, the Conservative Party, to make America more white and less others. So there has been consistent policy and programs of his administration to deny access to the United States, especially to people coming from Latin America, the Hispanic population. He ran on that. He won an election on that. He built his movement, referred to as the MAGA movement, on that. That is essentially the Americans should be more white and less of other things. This has been implemented in various ways. Not only did he close borders from the southern part of, from the southern hemisphere, and even removed or canceled programs of prior administrations, including prior Republican administrations, that allowed, that encouraged immigration. This has caused a big problem or confusion in his parties, among his party members, because it is denying America the benefits of cheap labor they used to have from the Hispanic community who worked in the farms. And that's why his government had tried at one point or the other to speak of exemptions. They will make a policy, then they make exemptions to undermine the policy. So it has been quite fairly inconsistent. The recent development is the banning of the partial restriction of visa for several countries which affected Nigeria, which gave rise probably to this topic today. And he is consistent. There is nothing unusual about it within his own administration. We expect that there will be revisions very soon because he has done this before. He will cancel, he will restrict visa, then he will reopen visa access to foreigners. So it's not unusual, really. He will change. Perhaps you may want to know why did he choose Nigeria, or how did Nigeria come into the picture? I would love to explain my assessment and understanding of the choice of Nigeria or the choice of countries. If you look at it, these are the poorest countries in the world. I mean, from Africa, when you begin to target Africa, you are targeting poor countries, but also there are so many things I could say, DDM. There are so many things because on the one hand, the visa restriction may not be ultimately against the interest of these countries, but it's interesting development. At individual levels, I can imagine that so many people are feeling cut off, unable to travel to the United States. Many who have planned these travels are planned in advance. I'm sure many people were thinking of coming to the United States or moving their relatives to the United States in the coming year. And when policies like this come, those who are making these plans are affected. I can see a lot of concern and fear in people who are now reconsidering their travel plans. But the assessment is not so very clear in terms of what U.S. intends, because U.S. is not consistent, in terms of its effect on the affected countries, because it's not quite clear what it is.
All right. The United States cited national security, protection of national security as one of the main reasons for these visa restrictions. And we understand that on October 31st, the U.S. designated Nigeria as a CPC, country of particular concern. Do you see any relation with that, any connection to what is currently happening?
This administration, Trump's administration, is very confused and inconsistent in what it says and does. As for the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern and possible relationship with this, yes, there is. If you look at the rhetoric of U.S. government, they talk of national security. See, national security is this excuse anybody can give for virtually everything. When the United States was imposing even trade barriers with Canada and Mexico, national security was cited. National security will always be cited. However, let me point out an area where there is clear validity in dealing with Nigeria. U.S. can always argue that for them, all visa programs requires on the assumption, or rather, is based on the assumption that the country, the original country where the immigrant, the alien is coming from, is one where we can obtain proper, adequate information about the incoming alien. That argument can be made. In a country like Nigeria, there had always been concern about the ability of Nigerian government to perform its own duties, duties expected of it by the international community, that information coming from Nigeria is valid. In other words, the process of obtaining a visa, the process of getting national government ID card in Nigeria, the government process of the means of getting those basic background information, including police report, that these things are not credible, they're not trustworthy. And if they're not trustworthy, they pose problem for the receiving country. It is basic to understand this, because when you are coming to the United States, even though there are embassies and the visa process is supposed to do its vetting to ensure that these security concerns are preempted at that level. But the embassies, US embassies, will still have to trust the Nigerian institutions for their own part of the process. So in a country where anybody can obtain any ID at any time, passport, and at any time, change information, get a deal with corrupt officials, and get any information you want, change your name as you want. There is a fear, and justified one, that the information coming from Nigeria is not credible, is not reliable, and that we don't have in Nigeria a partner we can trust for the verification of this sort of information. That triggers security concern for any country. The question is, why now? It has always been that case that way for some time. And United States had complained about the situation in Nigeria, meaning essentially that we can't trust the government in Nigeria. We can't trust what they do in Nigeria. Anybody can obtain any certificate he wants in Nigeria, signed by anybody in Nigeria. They can even have something for. I mean, we had the family of the former president saying that the signature of Buhari was forged on documents. If that was possible, that essentially means that documents coming from Nigeria lack basic credibility. So US is actually correct. But the issue is that it is using this as a pretext. This has always been it. And the US has a very robust system of verifying these things. In other words, the US has a robust system for overcoming these problems. In this latest development, President Trump spoke about Boko Haram and IS
ISWA.
Yes. Okay. So, but these are not new. They were there last year. They were there the year before. Okay. Why now? So, by the way, only on Thursday, that was about 3 days ago, 4 days ago, Donald Trump canceled the diversity visa program altogether. And why was that? Because the students, the person who fired the shot in Brown University was happened to be somebody who entered the United States through the diversity visa program. So you see some erratic behavior on the part of the United States government. He just does what he wants to do, and he justifies it with reference to national security, and he could point at prior problems that have been there over the years. And he do that? Obviously, he can do that. It's his policy choice. We have we can't challenge the legality of it. We can talk about the hardship it imposes on people affected, but in terms of legality of it, he's done it. He's done more serious things, actually.
All right. Now, the new travel ban targets Nigerians holding B1, B2, FM, and J visas, and they will be barred from entering the United States from January 1, 2026. Now, some Nigerians may not understand these alphanumeric terms. Could you expatiate on these terms, please?
Yes, the policy talked about a policy exempted pre-existing visas that had been issued, okay, remain valid to the best of my understanding. So, but these visa categories, let me tell you those are affected by it. B visas are the visitors, people who just come to visit, spend a few weeks and go back. The F visas are the student visas. So it implies that US institutions will be admitting less and less students from Nigeria in the coming year. So the M visa is the vocational training visa. So these are essentially the primary source of the immigration process in the United States, because people who come in with F visas, they are students, or people who come with M visas, they're vocational, the people who come for vocational studies, they eventually settle in the United States. They will transition from F category to H category, and then to permanent residence and citizenship. So he is hitting at the root, the channel through which immigration occurs, through which Nigerians enter the United States and settle. Of course, family visas were not affected, but once a government is moved in the direction of cutting down the number of immigrants coming from a particular country, they always extend it to all categories, even when a visa category is not banned. What happens is that the vetting process becomes more stringent for those people, ultimately resulting in overall reduction of foreigners, aliens coming from that country. So one other thing, the United States government, that's Trump mentioned this, was the the level of overstays. Nigerian immigrants tend to overstay their visa. Numbers were cited 5.11% for B visas and 11% for F visas. So these are statistics mentioned, but I will also emphasize, Esha, that this is not new. This is not new. It cannot justify this particular policy. And it doesn't mean that this is the best way to address it. So, as I indicated earlier, what happens is this government in the United States has deviated from its predecessors. It had done things that would have been considered extreme, especially in the area of immigration. The tolerance that used to exist before, the laxity that used to exist before, have all vanished. However, they were not vanishing in any systemic, logical manner. They're occurring by way of erratic, spontaneous policy pronouncements, which are ultimately, the government ultimately ends up working itself back from it. So I expect in the next few months to a year, even before the end of this administration, you are going to have revisions. Nigerians are a great country, population-wise. We're the biggest in Africa. Any imposition of restriction on Nigeria is going to have significant impact on inflow of on immigration from Africa, completely. Because I would say that out of every 4 Africans that come into the United States, Nigerians are probably 3, if not 2. Okay, so the essence is this is a radical development. It will have impact numerically on Nigerians coming to the United States. It will affect US. It will also affect Nigerians, but probably more. It will affect US more because look at many Nigerians are coming here. I would say in every university in Nigeria, the top 5% of the students graduating in every Nigerian institution will end up in the United States, the United Kingdom, more in the United States. So when you make this sort of policy, they won't be able to come as visitors, and then they won't be able to come as graduate students. These Nigerian graduate students are those supplying American institutions, universities of top research graduate students, in sciences and other areas that are being systematically shut up. But I think the policy will be relaxed eventually.
All right, thank you very much. Now, are there other groups of people who are immune to these restrictions? For instance, the green card holders, people who have been granted the right to work and live in the United States permanently, and those who are currently going about lawful activities in the US, but may decide to travel home for Christmas and return to America in January.
No, the policies specifically exempted all existing visas if there was no violation. It did not cancel existing visas. It did not affect permanent residents. It did not affect H-1B visas. I mean, H visas, if you look at it, the category H visa was exempted from it. Okay, so H visas are people who are already working here, though not permanent residents, but are working for employers. Those are not affected, and the permanent residents are not affected. However, if you are in violation of anything, the fact that you hold these visas will not stop the authorities from deporting you. So one of the remedies or one of the measures they take against aliens who violate the law, any law, is to deport them. Okay, so, and of course, if they can deport you, they may deny you entry. This is what you have to understand. When you are working here or you are resident here, you are entitled to certain cadre of due process. You can't be deported without a hearing. And there'll be a hearing, they will look into whatever you did. But in terms of those who are affected by these new policies, we are looking at people who are applying for visas, either to renew or to come for the first time in these categories. It's not talking about those who were already here, unless they're in violation.
Right. Now, how should the Nigerian government respond to this? And even Nigerians?
Yes, of course. I would say Nigerian government, because there's nothing individuals could do, really. And, well, maybe there are things individuals could do. But remember that the individuals affected are people outside the United States. They have no access to American institutions. If something should be done by Nigerians in the United States, they should reach out to their congressmen and press for a review of this policy. And the policy could be reviewed if there's sufficient pressure from vested interest in America. But on the part of Nigerian government should understand that this policy is going to have impact on it somehow. And I will be honest with you, I'm actually very divided about these things. I wonder if the immigration is favorable, the rate of Nigerians leaving Nigeria is helping Nigeria or not. It's a different discussion, really. But any country that loses its best over time will do badly. We've been seeing this before. I know that if you make a first class in a Nigerian university today, you will not be in Nigeria in the next 10 years. Indeed, you are gone from Nigeria. I mean, this is it. It's either, if you're very good, you either work for the oil companies in Nigeria or you leave. And you're going to end up in America or Britain. So the question is, yes, when they get in there, they begin to remit money to Nigeria, foreign exchange. So what is in the interest of Nigeria in the long run? A country that loses its nationals to others. Nigeria has become a supplier of labor, supplier of researchers to the West. As I said, a separate argument. But if Nigerian government were to intervene, they would do what Senegal did, Ghana did, actually. Ghana was banned not long ago, and Ghana lobbied. The government of Ghana lobbied, and it was lifted. So Nigerian government could take a proactive position and approach US government to have a discussion on this, find out their concerns, find out how to improve information sharing processes, especially on security. If they can regain the confidence of the United States authorities, then that would be a basis, a justification for lifting the ban. So I think the Nigerian government should not sit down, because this thing is an indictment on the Nigerian system. The United States has pointed at Nigeria invariably corruption, because when they say that their system is not secure, the system of ID card verification are not secure, they're basically saying that they're corrupt. It's not that the technology doesn't exist for us to verify people's identity and be sure of what we're putting in documents or signing off on. It is that the officials responsible for this would rather accept little token in bribe and undercut the system. So Nigeria is supposed to improve its vetting system. It's not just in the interest of America, but in the interest of Nigeria, because we really need to have accurate information on people. That's without it, national security is undermined, not just in the United States, but in Nigeria as well. So the argument America has made is valid. It makes sense. However, the timing suggests it was a pretext for a different policy. And also, given the fact that America has the capacity to overcome the shortcomings of Nigeria in these areas, I mean, it wasn't as if a Nigerian could just get in and walk into America. It wasn't as if a Nigerian could just get in and walk to the airport, get into a plane, and walk into Nigeria, to the United States. No. All this while, the visa process in Nigeria, US visa process in Nigeria, had been rigorous, and justifiably so. So we don't think there is any new security concern that could not be addressed by tightening up the United States vetting system or visa processes. I don't think so. But another thing I must say, DDM, is this. You know how governments behave. I do know how Donald Trump does things. He makes pronouncements expecting to achieve results just by the pronouncements. So when he made this sort of policy announcement by way of executive order, in other words, it wasn't passed by Congress. That means he could reverse it any day he likes without having to go through repealing any law. So he makes this policy announcement to put pressure on affected governments. So this is a pressure point for Nigeria, because who are those who travel mainly? They are usually relatives, family members of the elite, the senators who want to come in here for the Christmas vacation, or come in here to shop with their wives and children. And those are the people who are being more immediately affected. So the pronouncement, I believe, primarily is calculated to send a message to Nigeria, and you will expect Nigeria to begin to move as it moved when it was designated, when the country was designated a country of particular concern. You saw a lot of effort being made, a lot of discussions, coming up. I expect similar thing to happen here. But at the same time, what happens is Nigerians will find alternative places. They'll be looking at Canada, Australia, Britain. But Britain is also tightening its own borders. I'm speaking of English-speaking world. If America shuts down, what it means is there'll be increase on people heading to Canada and Australia and the United Kingdom. That's my assessment.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Emeka Ugwuonye, Esquire, founder, Due Process Advocate International. It was nice speaking with you. It's always nice to have you on my program to speak on a varieties of matters, mainly on Nnamdi Kanu, the person you are, seem to be obsessed with. Maybe some other time we should talk about him and then progress of Ndibo. Thank you very much for gracing this program.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, this is the morning show, of course, brought to you in the afternoon, circumstantially. I'm Toshku Raphael. See you next time. If you love this program, do not hesitate to hit the like button, make your comments, share this video, and subscribe to DDM TV.